Interview.
First, the player is a former Big Daddy. He is a prototype from the original line of Big Daddies, each of whom were bonded to a single little sister. And he, for some reason, a mysterious reason, he has been awakened. His free will has been restored at the beginning of the player's control of him. And he is crossing the city, wondering what has happened in the last 10 years, sort of a man out of time, trying to find his former little sister. She's the only one who gives him any kind of meaning in this world, and she's the only thing that he believes hasn't changed. And so he's pursuing her and comes into conflict with Sophia Lamb as a result. One of the many thematic goals of BioShock 2 has to do with sort of rapture from a child's eye view. And so I'll start with Ryan Amusements. Ryan Amusements is a theme park designed entirely to brainwash children. Rapture is a secret, and they can't really have kids that are born there wanting to see Ireland, you know. So they have to scare those kids out of ever visiting the surface. And so you basically walk around through one of Andrew Ryan's terrifying propaganda messages, live in a kind of, House of Horrors kind of style.
So, but the parasites say no. What was yours is ours. We are the state. We are gone. We demand our share.
From there, the player learns about the adoption mechanic and finds, a little sister wandering around through Ryan Amusements, and that's where he kind of understands how he adopts the little sister and uses her to gather Adam to grow his character. Much later, Siren Alley is where Andrew Ryan's ideas have kind of been left behind because he's dead now, and Sophia Lamb is on the rise. Sophia Lamb has taken over the city and has got a kind of underground church built there. And so Siren Alley's themes, because it's the red light district, are kind of about what happens when people lose hope and the kind of faith that they end up turning to and how that can be manipulated. Ultimately, Sophia Lamb is an altruist, and her philosophy, when it turns sour, is very grim. It makes martyrs. So Siren Alley is kind of about that. There are new little sisters being made, and they need somebody to protect them. And so Sophia Lamb's people have begun creating new Big Daddies as well. One of which is the Rumbler. Now, sharp-eyed viewers will notice that the Rumbler actually is one of the original Big Daddy looks that never made it into the first game. We've overhauled his behaviors completely and basically made him from the ground up in terms of his functionality, but that art direction we wanted to make sure sort of inherited from the same spread that the player faced in the first game. So we took the Rumbler and brought him to the fore. He is a defensive kind of Big Daddy. He likes to throw down miniature turrets and fire at you with this big bazooka from behind them. So your job is really to figure out how to deal with all of that firepower. Now, as far as the Brute Splicer, we have regular old humanoid splicers, which look a little bit more mutated and grotesque than BioShock 1. But there are also first-generation splicers that have been around since the events of BioShock 1. Those guys have been splicing themselves stronger and stronger, or more versatile in various ways, and the Brute Splicer is one of them. He's very environment aware. He likes to pick up things that are lying around and throw them at the player, sometimes explosives, like whatever he can come to hand. And he likes to dash up and pound you very close, and that's makes him very lethal. The player has to figure out a way to keep distance with him. I would say that BioShock 2 is a true sequel in that many of the mechanics are new. The plasmid system has deepened. Each tier of any given plasmid gives you a radically different sort of tactical use. And with the dual wielding system, you're now able to pull off the combinations in BioShock 1 that might have been a bit challenging, toggling between your weapons and your plasmids. But we like to think of those as additive or sort of augmentations of the BioShock 1 control scheme. So it should feel quite familiar for players of the first game. We hope that with all those new choices and options, that the players of BioShock 2 will be able to sculpt their own play styles into more divergent paths by the conclusion of the game. One of the things that I felt had the most potential for expansion in the first game was the relationship between the Big Daddies and the Little Sisters. On the one hand, they're video game characters. You decide what to do about them in order to grow your character, and the choices you make affect the outcome and your options as a player. But I felt that there was something very primal about these two characters, and that we could spin that in a very broad way into a sort of thematic message carrying from the first game about family. It's not didactic in the sense that I'm not going to tell you guys what to think about the game. Our themes are very participatory, but family is an important sort of internal touchstone that we have managed to I think, convey with the actual mechanics. BioShock, we very much wanted the story to live in the actions as well. And so, as a Big Daddy, the little sisters are not just, they don't regard you as strangers, they regard you as family. And the choice that you're making with them is not just whether to deal with them now or deal with them in a different way. It's to how much of their trust that you're willing to either make good on or exploit. So the player can either pick up the little sister and adopt her, at which point he can then gather Adam from around the world, playing into that trust the whole time, and then again he can decide whether to harvest or rescue her. Or if he doesn't feel like it at the time, he can just deal with her on the spot. We feel like that changing the moral context of those choices has some power, and it definitely affects the story's outcome. All the choices that the player makes in the game, because we are trying to celebrate the player's free will this time around, affect the story's outcome. Now, as far as the Big Sisters go, the Big Sisters are the most powerful guardians of the Adam ecology in Rapture. When a little sister is lost, and the Adam from her ends up in some splicer's vein, the Big Sister hunts them down. Well, previously, the Big Sister was a single character that was tied to the story front to back. Now, there is still, without spoiling anything, there is still a very prominent character like that, but I don't want to reveal too much about her because that's, the sort of surprise payload of the game. But there are also encounters with Big Sisters that you can decide how to deal with, because they are in fact the most difficult battle that you face as you go through to the end. So that character has sort of fractaled out into different incarnations, and you guys will I guess experience those firsthand. So BioShock 2 is coming out for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, and it will be released on February 5th, 2010.